Welcome to the Nancy Grandquist podcast. And although I have done many of these podcasts in the last 6 months and have been thrilled with every single one of them, but I have to tell you that my heart is jumping kind of up and down right now because I am about to introduce my son to you, my one and only boy, Richard Martin Grandquist III. And he, in his busy life, so kindly agreed to talk on a podcast. So I'm just thrilled to introduce you to him. Richard, thank you so much, honey, for coming on tonight.
Absolutely. Have you had any of the sisters on this yet? Or
No, not yet. No.
That's because I'm the best child that you came out of your uterus.
Well, you definitely are the only son. So
That's true.
And anyway, there's so many subjects that I would love to talk to you about and share to our listening audience because you are a wealth of information. You're so well read. And even in your crazy life, running 2 emergency rooms and 3 little ones, about to have your 4th child in the next couple of weeks, I just felt like your voice is so valuable and needs to be heard as far as you're a millennial. But these coming on, the Gen X and all the ones that are coming on, you have so much insight, I think. And I just wanted to talk to you tonight and just ask you to just give your feelings and what you see happening in our world today. If you would just share some of your wisdom, Richard. And you were talking to me the other day about the young men like that you are friends with or have, like you were friends in high school through college, that so many of them have never married. They've never settled down. And I just like for you to talk about, what do you see? I mean, this is almost like an epidemic for young men not being married.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm Richard Grandquist III, right? And so I've got, like my mother said, I've got 3 kids. I'm an emergency medicine physician assistant. I'm one of the managers of the PAs for 2 ERs. I don't really have a lot of really close young friends in like their 20s. I do interact with quite a few because I live in a college neighborhood. And so I'm always the guy that helps with like flat tires. I'm that neighbor and kind of helps out. So I get to interact with them on a fairly regular basis. Plus a lot of the EMT staffing our 2 departments are relatively younger. And so I'm able to interact with them. But to your point, I think that a lot of, and this is not just, men in their 20s, right? This is people in their 30s and beyond. But what my mom was referring to is a lot of my buddies from high school as well as in college still aren't married. And they did the classic kind of bachelor thing, getting a good job out of college, going to big cities, meeting people, and kind of living the typical lifestyle that is idolized in media. That's, age old, going back to the story of the prodigal son. And so now they're old, right? I'm 30. We're not old, but 30 older. I'm 37. They're similar age. And they're kind of looking around looking for a good, stable female to marry. And they're explaining to me how there's really no one that's meeting those requirements. And, it's been, 18 years since.
So these guys, prodigal guys, are now waking up realizing that, wow, I might have missed the boat because I didn't find that girl. Like you met Meredith when you were, 17?
I met Meredith, when I was like 16. And I was one of those fortunate individuals who met an amazing individual in high school. And so I knew immediately that this person was an amazing individual, and I wanted to marry her and I want to have kids. And there's a lot there as far as providing and reasoning for why I'm where I am right now concerning my income potential and providing for her and what I wanted. But no, I knew that I wanted to get married and I wanted to have kids. And A lot of these people that I'm referring to, a lot of these friends that I've still come into contact with, they want that, they want what I have now, but they didn't want to kind of put in the work in their 20s when it was easy to kind of do what is easy and what you wanted.
Kind of a party mentality. Yeah. Like, okay, we've got college, we got career, but now we're going to party. And so it really is kind of like the spirit of the prodigal son.
Yeah, exactly. It's a story. And it's frustrating because now, and it's sad actually, more so than frustrating, but I have conversations with the opposite sex, like nurses who come to me, and it's always this facade of, I'm going to go to Miami, whatever. And I've been in a failed marriage. And so now, marriage is for suckers. And then I'll just be like, okay, all right, well, enjoy that. I'm going to go home to my wife and 3 kids. And, like there's something that I have with her that I'm just not, she knows that I will never do anything to damage this relationship. And I feel the same about her. And they're just blown away, very confused by that. And I'm so, well, I just made that commitment.
But Richard, you made that commitment way back before you ever married.
I did. But that commitment is something that they just can't comprehend. And so they'll a lot of times, well, most recently I've had nurses come up to me and they're just like, hey, just so you know, like I'm really not a party girl. I just don't want you to get the wrong impression. I want to be a mom and have kids. And I'm just like, oh, okay, why don't you just tell people that? It's like, well, it's just, and I'm like, oh, it's not popular. It's not the cool thing to kind of do.
Right.
And it's also just admitting that, this lifestyle that's glorified is not leaving you fulfilled on the inside. Right. So that's something that no one really wants to bring out to the open.
So it's really the big lie, Richard.
Absolutely.
And that's what's tragic about these young men, Gen Z and X and all these, the big lie,
And we, this is something that the earlier generations really figured this out, right? They were having kids at 18, 19. And so they were relatively younger when their kids got older, but they were doing it younger. And so it does get older. It does get harder as you get older.
Right.
Right. So Mary and I, we got married. I was 25. And so Martin was born when I was 30. And, when we were in the South, people were having kids at like 20, 21. Mm-hmm. And Mary and I were both kind of like very confused by that.
Well, you were in medical school. I mean, you were trying to get your PA thing.
Yeah. And so we were really kind of like not understanding, right? Like, cause you're classically, just because we were, I don't want to say educated, but just because we came from an area of kind of higher educational normal, I guess, in the Bay Area. And so we were just like, why would you ever do that? You should wait until, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, oh, wait, they've kind of got it figured out. I'm 37 and I got a baby coming in a month. And I'm like, I don't have the same steam I used to. I mean,
you got a lot of steam.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, it just makes more sense. But they just mostly just going back, like a lot of these friends that I refer to, it's just I really do feel genuinely bad for them because now they're stuck with, individuals who have really never committed to anyone. And now the continual sense whenever you talk to younger people are like, I got to do what makes me happy. And I'm just like, kind of not really. This is not about your happiness.
Yeah.
Marriage is not about what makes me happy. I mean, I've only been married for, I don't know, Meredith, how long? 13. Yeah. So, I've only been married for 13 years, but, and I've kind of figured out that it's literally, you are taking on, you're being a representative of Christ. You're dying to yourself. And that's kind of what parenting and that's what marriage is. And so Richard, that's a very confusing That's a very confusing idea to other individuals, like younger individuals. That's just,
when I see the way that you parent, when I see the way that you husband, when I see the way that you are a disciple of Christ, it's all encompassing and really, I don't know, you don't seem to have a minute left, but I love the way you love your wife. Like you really, really take care of her. And
well, I really like my wife. I chase her around. She gets very exhausted.
Well, you
I've
must
been doing that since
you are
high
your
school.
father's son.
She kept slapping my hands off when I was in high school. She still does it now, for crying out loud.
That's funny, Rich.
Yeah.
But you are so involved. Like you today, just for instance, I watched you. You come in from your ER. I took the kids by today. You're all 12 emergency room. They were all full. All these beds that you were taking care of, and you come through the door, and
It's 18 beds.
is it 18?
It's
Sorry.
18 beds plus. Yeah. So don't undersell me like that. Come on now.
Okay. But you walked in the house, Rich, and you were so immediately connected to the kids. Now, a lot of dads say, just give me space. I don't even want to see the kids for the first 45 minutes that I'm home. And I just love that even in the middle of your high pressure adrenaline, action, the way you work at your ER, but that you immediately interact with the kids there. Like it pours out of you, your love, your excitement to see them. And how do you keep that going?
I really, I want to, number one, be the best dad I can be. And I know that to do that, I have to be active and doing stuff around the home to help, right? Because you can pull in like the typical 1950s dad if you come home and it's like, take my shoes off and, make me some coffee and I'm going to sit here and watch TV for 2 hours. I think that's less the norm now. I think that that's not really reality anymore. There's still I've seen some of it still in some of my friends, but it's relatively gone. But no, just because like even today I worked a 10-hour day, just because, you go to work and you go ahead and you pour out, empathy on other people does not mean you get to come home and not be excited to see your kids, right? That's not beneficial for them. And that's not really what a good father would do. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I come home and I'm like super excited and, whatever. Because
no, you're going to have bad days. Of course. You're human.
Yeah, but I think I do try and make a concerted effort to never walk through the front door and tell anyone, Meredith, kids, whoever, how tired I am. That is just my goal.
Oh, that's kind of always been your creed, your mandate.
Right. Nobody needs to know how tired you are out there in the world. Nobody cares how tired you are. Suck it up, pull your boots up, and keep going with your day. This is a side note. And also, don't tell me how busy you are. I don't care. I don't need to know about it.
Richard. So incredibly, and I think this carries over big time into you were a preacher's kid. And I think that there was always stuff going on. The house was always full of people. There was always stuff going on. But, you and the girls were, to me, you were the main part of my life. And I just think about on Wednesday nights, like you would go to your dad.
Let's talk about Wednesday nights.
Let's talk about Wednesday nights as a preacher's kid.
Let's
okay?
talk about getting kids up Thursday morning for school and they went to bed at 9:30 at night. That is not sustainable. I do not recommend it.
9:30.
As a parent, I don't even know when I go. I don't even think I went to sleep. I think I just went to school the next day. Honestly,
I know.
I don't even know how.
Okay, it might be different. I know it would be different now because I do feel horrible. You kids didn't get in bed till. Well, we always had Wednesday night church.
Doesn't mean I wasn't having a great time. It was a blast.
Right.
I don't know if it was the best kind of bedtime.
Well, you were exhausted. But anyway, you get up.
You guys want to hear how tired I was?
No, but you get in bed about 11:30, and I just peel you off of those sheets in the morning at 7 trying to get you up for school.
Yeah.
But Richard, one of the things I always tell my son doesn't really like sweets or candy. What a weirdo. You're kidding me. And I said, no, when he would go to Safeway with his dad after church on Wednesday nights, tell him what you'd get.
I don't know why, but I would just want a head of cabbage. I think that just kind of speaks to the insanity of who I am as a person.
Richard, you would eat vegetables. Everybody's getting candy and dips and chips, and you would be gnawing on a head of cabbage or a pepper.
Yeah. Bell peppers are still great.
Yeah.
I have a veggie bag that I bring to work. It's full of broccoli, carrots, bell peppers, broccoli,
amazing.
cucumber. Yeah, pretty much. That's the whole kit and everything. Mare puts together for me though, because I don't want to cut all those vegetables. She's got me covered.
I love that so much. So this house is so filled with so much genuine. It's authentic, the love and the care. Like I look all over this house. There's scriptures taped on all your walls. Harsh words make tempers flare, but a gentle answer stops anger. And she's got proverbs. I mean, everywhere I look, she's got scriptures. I think it's amazing, Richard.
Yeah, I mean that is Meredith. That's not me. I did not put those up. So she is definitely she's definitely an amazing spirit-filled wife. That we should all hope for in our spouse. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that is definitely Meredith when it comes to that.
Richard, what could you say to the issue of all of these friends and I mean, what could you say to them that would encourage, and especially to the younger ones that are coming up? I mean, be faithful, don't mess around, ask God to bring you that one.
Yeah, I think if you're asking what I would tell a single male who is looking for a true life mate, then I would say, and this is something that someone told me in college when Mary and I were still dating and not married yet, but be the man that you want your future wife to be married to, right? Is that right, Meredith? Did I get it right or I got it wrong? Be the man. No. It's about like when you're thinking about your future spouse, be the man that your future spouse wants to be married to. And so that would be my advice is sometimes it's not easy and sometimes it's not convenient and it's most certainly not popular. But you should do your best to maintain your purity, whether that's through like pornography or whether that's through like your interactions with the opposite sex. You should do your best to maintain that purity for your spouse, because it definitely does bring in a level of intimacy that you can never get back, right? And I'm not sure exactly where I got mom. You talked to me a lot more than Dad did about purity. Mm-hmm. Not that Dad didn't, but you were probably just the most thing that stuck with me. And I just remember I don't know how old I was. I was probably Martin's age, probably 8 or so. And I remember we were in the old front room with the fireplace before it was remodeled. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure when that was.
Oh, you were little.
Right? There was a little swing out front, remember? Yeah. And you were like, Richard, if a woman ever comes up and tries to seduce you, you run out of that room like Joseph screaming. And I was like, well, I don't know why, I'm going to do that, but I guess I should. And so... sorry, I didn't go into greater detail there. Well, no, I mean, you're just, I just knew there's something. So that was something you stressed over and over again. You're just
Richard, I've seen so many young guys. I mean, their lives are ruined because they mess up with someone they go out with. And of course, the girl lies and says she's 18. She's not. And there's some things that happen and they end up going to prison over this horrendous lie, and their lives are ruined forever. So that's what I always told you.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to date a girl and you don't know her character and she says I'm 18, you be sure you see her driver's license.
I think the more thing that stuck with me was just whatever you give away, you can't give back. And so
tell about what, let's say, I forget, there were so many situations, but there was a time you were with your friends, your secular friends that lived in the neighborhood, and you were on a boat with them somewhere, and a boatload of girls drove up, and they were trying to get you to come over to their place or whatever. And one of the neighbors' boys said, "You won't get him to do that."
Yeah, no,
because he's a virgin, and they were all laughing because they could not believe this 18-year-old guy or whatever is.
Yeah, I definitely did have a record.
Yeah,
or, I'm sorry, not a record, but a reputation.
But you know what I love? What you told them, Richard. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I will never forget it because they said the girls were trying to get you, and all the guys on the boat, they were trying to get, and the girl said, well, how do you know you even want to buy the car unless you try it out?
Oh, right.
Remember?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The classic line.
The classic line. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing as like, well, why do bad things happen to good people? It's the same exact mentality of that kind of a question.
But what I loved is what you told that group of young people that day, and I think this is one of the blessings that has followed after you, Richard, is you said, I want to give the gift to my wife. I want to give the one gift that I can give to my wife of my purity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I tell people that you guys went together for 8 years and that, that wedding night, and you called us at 1 a.m. and you told Dad that was the most amazing thing in the world that just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, how many people get a call from their son at 1 a.m. on their wedding night?
Well, I had to give you guys an update. Everything works down there, guys. Don't worry. There could be children.
Oh, yeah. My word. My son.
No, it's definitely, I would say that to everybody, it's worthwhile to pursue purity in your, not only just with you and your mental purity, but also physical purity. I would say when you're looking for a spouse, I think you should look at the parents and make sure they have a healthy relationship, because that's probably going to be a representative of how your relationship is going to be. Not always, right? But that's just a good indicator. And that's kind of what I saw in Meredith's family. I knew that her mother and father were good people and they had a great relationship. They were solid believers. And so, I kind of was like, okay, well, this individual is, something to pursue. And so I would say, look to the parents. And I would say that get married sooner. I'm not saying like 3 months, but I'm saying don't wait to get married. And then once you're married, don't wait too long to have kids. I think that kids are awesome. Have kids younger. And I think that's pretty much all my advice would be for young males.
So on top of all of this, Richard, you have become a real soul winner. And I know that there's a couple of docs out of your ER that you have Bible studies with.
I don't have any Bible studies with the docs. However, I have had solid interactions with some of my local PAs. Like Meredith and I were involved with kind of seeking out a couple, and we slow played it, which was great. They had Christian roots, like they were, I think, was like Catholic, and they got that sense. We slow played it, invited them to church, and now they're believers, and so that's awesome.
Yeah, I saw them at your church. I think it was Easter.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're yeah, for sure. I mean, I am a 100% an outspoken individual when it comes to faith. Everyone knows exactly where Richard stands. Everyone knows exactly where Richard stands when it comes to his wife. Everyone knows exactly where Richard stands when it comes to Second Amendment stuff. I am pretty unwilling to waver when it comes to my beliefs. And I think that has gotten a little bit stronger as I've gotten older, because it's easier to kind of not care what people think as you get older.
Mm-hmm. But you have to care a little bit in your ER because you have people that are over you.
Correct.
So
Correct.
You can't just say everything.
Yeah, you can't say everything, right?
You can't say everything you want.
But you can still be resolute in your values, and you can still be like, nope, that's just, you can be tactful in how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you shouldn't get walked over. It's obviously kind of unfortunate being employed and, being a Christian in a place, especially in medicine currently with the current climate and way things are going. It's somewhat difficult, but it's not impossible to navigate at this point.
That's exactly what Daniel said. That's exactly what Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego said.
Well, I would prefer not to be in a very hot furnace. So, still have lots of parenting to do.
Yes, you do.
So,
and you had a thing, like, was it 2 years ago now? It'll be 3 years. You You had I can't even say the name of that.
Oh, my pheochromocytoma.
That one.
Yes, a adrenal tumor secreting tons of fight or flight hormones.
Like your blood pressure was way up, crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of always high. I probably had it forever. Well, most likely I did, but yeah. So I had that. And then yeah, so it's a tumor in the adrenal gland that pumps out a bunch of catecholamines, that is the main hormones in charge of fight or flight, right? So I had 10 times the normal limit in a 24-hour period. So I was pretty much ready to kill people all day long, I guess is the best way to say it.
That's really hard, running an ER and wanting to kill people.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to save them, right? It's very weird.
Yes.
Obviously, that's being I'm exaggerating, but
Of course.
yeah. So that was 2 years ago. I had surgery, got it removed, had to go to USC, and they removed my whole adrenal gland. So I'm just rolling around with one right now. But no, that was definitely scary. I mean, writing, it stinks knowing kind of medicine and knowing
Yes.
the true pros and cons of surgical intervention, right? Because you're looking at, as soon as you clamp onto the adrenal gland and specifically any tumor, it's gonna pump your body full of hormones that jacks your blood pressure up. So I read about it that you could stroke out on the table, and I was like, perfect. So let me just write my kids goodbye letters.
And that was what really was, it just killed me when I found out you were writing letters to your kids, to your wife, to us.
Yeah, I prayed over everyone walking into the OR. I prayed for, it was USC, so I think I was the second pheochromocytoma that year, and it was in September. So I was like a circus. They had, it was like every single attending, an intern, and everyone's talking to me, and I'm like, oh Lord. It was like the OR suite with the windows up above,
Oh, you had a whole gang watching then.
Oh yeah. So I mean, they wheeled me in. They gave me, I think they gave me probably just some fentanyl or something, just kind of relax me before going in. And I was like, let's pause, pump the brakes. Let's everyone say a prayer. So prayed over OR staff. Again, could care less what anyone thought. I'm the one going under a knife here. You have to listen to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can't tell you the overwhelming joy I had when I woke up in the PACU. It's like the post anesthesia area, and saw the lights and the nurses running through her stroke assessment. And I was like, okay, well, my blood pressure probably jacked up pretty high, but everything worked. So I just started chatting with her, and this was 2021. So Meredith just had Josie.
Yeah, she was only
at USC. At
she was
the
a month
hotel.
old, wasn't she? Or 3 weeks old?
Yeah. Well, I think she was like what, 2 months?
2 months old.
2 months old. So I remember the nurse was just going through her little assessment and asked me questions, and we're just chatting. And so it got around that I was in medicine, and so she was like, "Oh, or like how are you feeling?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." And I'm like, "Man, I just really wish I could see my wife." And the nurse was like, "Well, why can't she come visit you?" And I'm like, "Well, she's not vaccinated for COVID." She's like, "Aren't you in medicine?" And I'm like, "Do you like your husband telling you what to do?" And then she gave me Dilaudid and knocked me on my butt. So
That was it for you.
she had enough of me.
Oh.
So, yeah. So anyways, just thankful to God that I lived through that. And
It's amazing, Richard.
Yeah.
And I talked to Meredith. Of course, she was in that hotel room right across from where you were, and I was calling her, and she's got this brand new baby, but she said, I've just been reading scripture and walking the floors and holding and nursing the baby in between, and so there was so much confidence in her voice. It was so wonderful to hear that my son had such a godly, amazing woman who had such a depth of faith that she was praying and believing and declaring that you were going to be just fine.
yeah, I mean, not only that, but I whenever I am in need of prayer, I'll call Nancy Grandquist. There's nothing like the intercessory prayers of a mother. So I mean,
Oh, Rich.
yeah. So I definitely knew that I was in not only God's hands, but also I had some strong prayer warriors behind me. And so
Yes, you did.
yeah, but
Yes, you did.
thankful I did not die.
I'm so glad you're here to tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to wrap all this up, Richard, thank you so much, because I know you've had a 10-hour day, and it's just an extraordinary moment for me as your mama to be here talking to you. And I want to do another one. I want to do another podcast because you have so much to say about patriotism and loving America. But I am so glad that we got this one.
Absolutely. It was fun.
And it was fun. And you are completely amazing. And I love you.
Well, I got it from you, Mother. Split 50-50 with Dad.
I love you, baby.
I love you too, Mom. Thanks so much.